everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
And today we're taking a look at a game called Sweet Mess Pastry Competition. Now, you may have heard of this game, so I want to be clear that this game was originally on Kickstarter. And it bombed. I mean, the Kickstarter did well, but it was not delivered. So Fantasia's has swooped in, and they're fixing that. So if you haven't got your copy, I'm sure Fantasia will get it to you soon. This is the deluxe edition with player trays, storage trays, and chips. I don't know what the regular edition looks like, so this is all I have to show you. But it's really nice. Here it is. The object of this game is to get the most points, and you're going to get points by completing recipes. You can see at the top of the board there's recipes of various levels, and they're going to need different ingredients. So if I want to make this delicious piece of cherry pie, I need 2 cherries, 2, I think those are apples, and then 1 ingredient that is neither of those. Above it here, I need 4 grapes or berries, 1 gelatin, and 2 of the same ingredient that's neither of those 2. So players are going to be collecting the ingredients from this area over here. You kind of randomly set it up at the beginning of the game, but each player has their board in front of them. On a player's turn, they're going to pick their action token, and they're going to move it to a spot it's not at. They'll take one of the 2 actions at that spot. Although, if you spend a coin, you'll be able to take both actions at that spot. So you notice 2 of the spots have an action here, which is taking ingredients from the middle. When you take ingredients from the middle, let's say I take this jelly here. There's 2 of them. I'm going to put them onto my board. Now, when you put ingredients in here, you can have 2 of the same ingredients in here, 4 of the same, and then 4 different in here. So you have to keep mind where you're going to put them. Once I've done that, I stuck my hand in here, that ingredient then is going to spill out. So you'll put 1 in each of the 4 that are adjacent to it. And then you'll flip it over. So now it's berries. You'll see that you can see some of the ingredients. If for some reason you run out of any particular ingredient, you'll just replace it with a different ingredient, and you can see right here in the middle, this shows you what ingredient to replace it with. So if I ran out of jellies, I would be using the berries instead. Now, each of these spots in the middle can only have 4 things maximum. And if I pick this one here, for example, with the whipped cream, I would put 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And also this is next to these 2 spots. So each of these would get a whipped cream. Although these won't stack, there will only ever be 1 there. That's 1 action that someone can take. They can also take a card. There are these different tool cards, and they'll have various actions on them that you can play in the future. You can also take leftover ingredients. That's these leftover boards here on the side. You'll take all the ingredients here, and if this one is uncovered, you'll get a coin for taking that one. And then finally, you'll be able to complete recipes. When you complete a recipe, you will pay the ingredients on that recipe, and then you'll place it underneath your board, and you have different areas you can place it. If you place it here, you're going to get a permanent ingredient. You'll discard an ingredient from your table. So let's say, for example, I want to get rid of one of my jellies here. I would get rid of that jelly, and now this spot here has jelly in it. And for the rest of the game, actually it goes in this spot. For the rest of the game, I have a discount of 1 jelly on all the different things I have. And in fact, as time goes by, I can get more discounts, and each of these is worth a point at the end of the game, as it shows here. If I go here, I get a tool card. Here I get a coin. Here I get a wild. Resources can be used as anything. This is going to move at the end of every turn, and when it rolls off the board, you're going to look at the icons on it. You'll see this one has a cake. There is different pies and desserts that you can get. When you get 2 of them, you have the opportunity to take some awards. Each player has a little award board here, and when you take an award, you'll take the top one off a stack of that type. So you need 2 of the same to go into these spots, or 3 of the same to go up here. When you put them up here, they're going to be worth an additional 5 points. So this one here would be worth 15 points. When you put them down here, you only need 2 of a kind to complete these. It's fewer points, but you'll get a bonus, and you'll pick one of these bonuses on a little bonus board that's near. So these are going to give you points. Also, getting 3 of these triggers into the game, and then the recipes themselves will have points on them and tools. There's also a few other things. At the end of every round, you can reserve a recipe, put a token on a recipe, and put it here, but you'll need to complete it before it runs off the board. And that's pretty much the basic rules of the game. All right. Man, do I love the chips in this game. They are fantastic.
And the storage thing holds them really nicely. Like, I'm happy with the storage solution.
That tray, fantastic. The player trays, fine, I guess.
Well, they work. I mean, I also like you can put those little permanent ingredients in there and you press them and they come out. And
Now, I can't tell which one goes where. Like, there's pictures, but I don't know what the pictures are for.
Well, I'm sure someone will make a sticker set. But it
doesn't
doesn't matter. You can only have one of each, so I would have been, why did you put them there at all, right?
Please go in the top left available one.
Because I put it in one of those, I was like, that's the wrong one. I don't care. Yeah, so the whole thing's nice. I really like the art. The desserts look delicious. Mm-hmm. They look fantastic. And I think they're all different. I did mention in the overview, you also each get a cook who gives you a special power. There's one thing I don't love about that is that at the beginning of the game, I'm like, oh, my first game.
Oh, sure. Like, which side is better? I don't know.
I will always pick, for me, I always pick the one that lets me use a wild as 2 ingredients.
I did like that one more than the other side.
The other side as you can use your ingredient
as a wild.
Only once as a wild, yeah.
Once per ingredient, right.
Sorry, once per, yeah.
It just feels like it's not too hard to get wilds in this game. And so therefore, I don't know, that's just me. But again, everyone has that same choice, so it doesn't really matter. I like the way the dishes look thematically. I get that if I stick my hand in the jelly will spill into the other jars, and then instantly they would shut down the competition, blow a whistle, yell a lot, contamination. But no, I'm like, I need some more jelly. But instead of grabbing it from the jelly, I'm going to grab it from that pile of cherries that also has whipped cream in it to make this dessert. I don't care that much. I just find that to be amusing.
Julia Child is touching raw chicken, then dipping her hands in the cherries.
Well, except she probably really did that.
Oh, she absolutely did.
That's a whole side note.
Yeah.
No, but the whole making a mess thing, I think it's a cute idea mechanically, but it's also extremely fiddly. Like, every time that you empty out a thing, you're like, okay, now I have to put it in clockwise order. There we go. I don't know. It felt like extra work that I didn't need.
Yeah, and you're gonna pretty much empty out a thing every time you grab from it, right? Because the 2 of the main actions are...
That's true. I didn't mention that.
Yeah.
It's only if you empty a thing out, but 90% of the time, you empty a thing out.
There's a few ability cards that are like, take the top or take one from an area.
Or you don't have room for all of them.
Or you don't have room for all, sure, yeah. But most of the time, you're emptying that sucker out, and then you're just, just shooting chocolate everywhere.
Everywhere. See,
I agree that it might be a little fiddly, except it's satisfying. I think most people, like, there's always someone who's like, I got it. Because you just put out all the chips and then you flip the thing. It just feels good.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, it has a purpose mechanically, and I appreciate that.
There are 2 things I'm not so sure about mechanically wise. One of them is the storage. They're like, you can have 4 different things here, 4 the same here, 2 and 2.
Yes.
So first of all, that's not that hard to get around. You just have to sit there and think about it for a while. Like, okay, I'm going to put this here. And the wilds, I can go anywhere anyway. So I would have dropped that rule so fast.
You can hold 12 chips.
I'm half tempted to just not have that rule in games I play anyway. But I haven't tested it, so I don't know. It just feels like a rule there for rule's sake. Doesn't even make any sense. You're messing up the kitchen. But here... This better be neat.
I think the thing, Tom, is that you have separated the ingredients precisely. You have removed every drop of whipped cream from that chocolate.
Yeah, but then you put 4 different ones into one thing, so it doesn't matter. That rule, and again, it doesn't ruin the game at all for me. It just felt like one extra rule. And my other minor complaint is the leftover side things aren't that exciting to take ever, since there's almost always 4 sitting somewhere on the board.
I thought I'm sorry, you...
Oh, I was going to say, I think for me, that was just an excuse for them to have another action.
Yeah, true.
That's what it feels like. And I honestly wonder why they don't just have the list of actions and pick an action.
That was going to be my thing. The little mechanism kind of lifted from Scythe. You have 3 spots. You move your totem to one of them and you do it, or you can pay a coin to do both of them. It seems like you could just do one action a turn. Pay a coin if you want to do 2 actions. And that kind of would have just
Don't
cleaned
make
up.
them the same.
Yeah, it feels like there's rules here that are sensible, kind of smart. Oh, organize your stuff, do this little action selection thing. It would have been completely fine without it. Now, that's me speaking from, not having developed the game and worked on it the whole time. But it just feels a little bit like, as a user, like, oh, this game feels polished in a lot of ways that I don't really need it to be.
But I don't know if, I guess that term polished, maybe I just don't, I'm not sure what you mean, but it doesn't feel polished. It feels like, hey, we just want to add in another mechanism. Let's make it this cool side mechanism because I like it. It
works, though. I guess that's my point, right? Like, everything in it works pretty well, including the weird storage, but I just don't like
Except the time that I took it from the side, which I actually got less chips because I was going to pull from a pile of 4, but I took the side, and then the next turn I can't build a card. Like, I can't fulfill a recipe just because. That's what I just don't understand, is I don't understand that timing of why pulling from the side won't let you fulfill a recipe.
I do think there is a weird disconnect in the game between the rules and how easy the game is to play. In the sense of, you're just collecting chips and turning them into get recipes. Mm-hmm. That's the game. Mm-hmm. Then you get the recipes and you get trophies with them, right? But then they're like, okay, here's a new rule, and I have to explain to people, yes, your card moves every turn. So what, I get a bonus here? No, you only get the bonus when you place the card. Well, then why would I not place it on the best bonus? Because you might want it to come out faster for trophies. And that's a lot of different rules I'm explaining for something that's really simple. And the reserve thing, no one ever understands that. I'm like, put the reserve token on, and then you need to complete that one. And the other one you put down there already is completed.
Yeah.
And again, it works. And I want to be clear, I like the game a lot. I think I could I think if they had let me come in and do some developing, I would develop out like 4 of these rules. I would have got rid of the storage. I would have made the reserve thing a simpler thing. I would not have made you discard a tool card to do it. The whole idea of when you get a tool card, you have to set it to the side and you can't take it till your next turn. I would have dropped that rule probably. There's just some minor things that I would have done differently. Like the sideboards, they're like, if the coin is uncovered, you get a coin. Ooh, maybe just always give me a coin when I take the sideboard. Then I might take it more often.
Agreed. I feel like that's the weakest, yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's multiple rules that feel like they're trying to prevent massive comboing, but I feel like the other rules are already taking care of that massive comboing. Like, you can't just take a bajillion tiles a turn. You can't just take a lot of tools a turn. Like, maybe you'll get 2 in a turn. Woo! It's not like you're going to be able to massive combo from what I see.
But I want to be clear again, there's things I like. I love taking the items. There's something visceral about it. It feels good to take these ingredients and then spend them on the desserts. The desserts look delicious. When you get a dessert, you get to put it down there. And there's always a dessert you can do. Even if someone, you took the one I wanted. I can also do that one. Almost always, I feel. It might not be the best one, but it's still good.
Especially because the game gives you wilds to work with, which I appreciate. And then you have your little chef power. So there's enough flexibility.
So things that I liked, I really liked that track of moving down your recipes. And I thought that was very clever because if you reserve a recipe, if you spend that tool, you're spending something that's very useful and may help you complete a future recipe. But getting rid of that tool allows you to pull a recipe and have it start ticking down that time track early on. You get that bonus early on. So I really like that concept of, we have this time tracker. Am I going to get something the very first turn that I may not be able to complete for 4 turns, but when I do, it's going to be awesome, and I get that bonus now? Or am I going to wait? I'm not going to spend the tool. I'm going to save it for later, but I've then missed that time. So I really enjoy the use of time that it has in this game.
I also really like that idea of storing the stuff in the jar, having a permanent one of those resources. And I wish it were...
a jar blessed by God. It never runs out. But.
Yeah. My pot runneth over. But I also appreciate that those are worth a point at the end of the game, because it still encourages you to use it even later in the game, because that one little point might be enough. You might only be off by a few points at the end of it all, and so jarring a few more things over there, that could be the difference between fulfilling one extra recipe and getting a few bonus points. I think that's well done.
I think that the way that the game ends too, with the awards, when someone gets 3 awards, everybody else gets another turn, that kind of thing. I like that because you're working so much with the time of the cards that if someone suddenly ended it, you'd be like, oh my goodness, my last card didn't come out. It was so close. So I appreciate the way that ends and how everyone gets that extra turn. And then I also just like the ribbons, being able to get those pretty quickly and say, hey, I'm going to go for the easier to get bottom row ones that don't give me the extra 5 points, but I'm getting the 8 or 10 point ribbon or something like that. Or you can wait and you can say, hey, I want the extra 5 points. I might get a lower ribbon, but it's going to be, worth more if I add those together. So,
What would you give it?
It's clever.
Score-wise, I have too many complaints to give this a personal recommendation. I think it's fun, but I think there's a lot of rules, like you said. So I'm coming in at a 6. For me, it's about as fun as playing Splendor is, which I also base Splendor is not that high up for me. It's probably
Really?
probably like a 6.5 for me.
Oh my.
And this one I feel like has the same amount of fun as Splendor, but more rules, more fiddliness of making sure the chips are all out there, making sure you're putting them in the correct place, the timing of things. There are many good rules, but I don't feel like they add up to a much more rich experience. And so it's fine, it's fun. I like the production, I like the theme a lot. I wish I enjoyed the gameplay of it a little bit more, but it is still good. And like I said, if this is a game you can compare to Splendor and you say Splendor's like a 9 for you, then you might have a lot more fun with this than I do.
For me, this is a 6.5. This is one that I feel like it's just a little bit better than fine. I'm really drawn to it because of the production and because of the theme, and I feel like I just want a few of those tweaks. And like you said, I might just house rule. I might just house rule where I put those chips. And if some of those changes happened, it might move up to a 7 for me because I like a lot of what's going on. I enjoy recipe fulfillment. I enjoy working with that kind of like time and trying to figure out how to organize things time-wise so that everything gets done in the order that I want them done. So there's a lot that I enjoy about it, but it's just those extra rules that make it so that I'm not going to pull this out personally and be like, hey, I recommend we play this. But if someone else wanted to play this, I would definitely play it.
Yeah, I'm definitely drawn in by the theme and the components. That definitely brings it up for me. I'm a 7.5. Like I said, I can see everything you guys say, but I also just like fulfilling recipes. And they're fun. I did it, I don't know, and it plays quickly enough too. I like that. It says 45 minutes to 90 on here. 90 is a kind of a slow game. We played it, I just recently played it where it was taught to a bunch of new players, and it was a longer teach than I would have done. I wasn't the one teaching. And it still finished in like 70 minutes. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's with the rules teach. Once you know how it works, I think it plays pretty smoothly. And there's just, like I said, I think some people like, and I love Splendor. You're right. I like collecting stuff, turning in and get things. That's fun for me. Also, the flipping of the tiles. I don't know. I like that. That's just a neat concept, even if I would never do it in real life. But anyway, that's Sweet Mess Pastry Competition. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Wendy Yee.
I'm Chris Yee.
Let's get ice cream.